Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again. And that must mean that I am Professor Robert E.G. Black, and this is the Groundhog Day Project.
It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
It's a thing where the same day keeps happening.
Time.
I wake up every day right here, right in Punxsutawney, and it's always February 2nd.
The last revision is what counts, apparently.
Minute 14 has Phil interacting with Rita, and Phil doing at least the first part of his report on the event of Groundhog Day. That's how late he was. He got here, we were more than halfway, I think, through minute 13 when he got up to where Rita and Larry were waiting. A few lines exchanged between he and Rita, and then it's time to record. That is unprofessional. I started this back in minute 2. I said, Phil is good at his job. This is Phil being bad at his job. And Rita should get mad at him later, but she never really has a chance to. And Rita is good at her job. She was helping make sure he's ready, checking his lapel. And when he tries to bait her into an argument right now, and he is a dick, she responds clearly, directly, and then gets his attention on the matter, the actual business at hand. So the minute begins. Phil just said there, Hicks Rita, he's trying to fight back against, she was winning this conversation so far. And he says, so, did you sleep okay without me? You tossed and turned, didn't you? Which, was sexual harassment in the workplace not already a problem in 1991? When this is set, 92 when they're filming, 93 when it came out, 90 when it was written. What the hell? I know it's important for the character of Phil, and it's something that he has to get better about, but, he gotta know she's gonna report him to HR. If Stephanie DeCastro or someone else has not already reported him, Rita Hansen is going to report him. Or she better. If she's gonna be good at her job, she needs to report him. Although, probably because she's new, she's not gonna report him, because she's just gonna put up with it, and that fucking sucks. Because Phil is the talent. He's the one on the billboards. He's the one with the promos. The producer doesn't get a billboard. Producer doesn't get a promo. She might get an award somewhere. I don't know what news awards are called. I know they exist, but I don't know what they're called. There'd be local news awards, there'd be national news awards. She'd have a chance at those, but she's not gonna be as big as he is. She's not on the billboard. And she responds to him, his advances, again, inappropriate, with, "You're incredible." Which is such a great line because it doesn't sound like she's calling him on it, but she means it literally. Incredible means not credible. Incredible is beyond. It's too much. And he tries to turn it on her and is like, who told you? Like, shut the fuck up, Phil. It's Groundhog Time. But really all she says is, it's Groundhog Time because Rita is polite, Rita is good, Rita is wholesome. I forgot to comment on the end of minute 13 that Phil had grabbed Larry's camera and pulled it close because he was using the lens as a mirror to see what he looked like. I'm not sure what Phil or Bill Murray are trying to fix because his hair basically just stays in one place. It's curly and it's short. It's not going anywhere.
Do you think she would prefer laid back Jim or cool hip Jim?
Actually, I can't think of a single film where Bill Murray had longer hair. I think he may have done a film where he had like a bald cap, so it looked like he had no hair. Didn't he? He played a politician in something. I don't remember offhand. But he's vain. He thinks he's better than everyone, and now he's sexually harassing his producer when he should be getting ready for the thing he was late for. He says, okay, on me in 3, 2, 1. Once a year, the eyes of the nation turn to this tiny hamlet in western Pennsylvania to watch a master at work. The master? Punxsutawney Phil, the world's most famous weatherman, the groundhog, who, as legend has it, can predict the coming of an early spring. So, I guess the question we have to ask ourselves today is, does Phil feel lucky? That is fantastic. As I said before, Phil is good at his job. He's a bad person. He's a good weatherman, generally. And this is him being good at this. That is a good speech, and Rita gives him double okay fingers, both hands. Yeah, loved it. Then I have questions. because this is not how you film this segment. Phil should have been there early to record an intro. He shouldn't have barely made it on time so that the intro almost gets interrupted by the action. They should have been filming the action separately, or they should have been covering it live. And I don't get the impression this is live at all, even though they do have an antenna on the van. No, because we see Rita checking out the footage later. No, that doesn't mean it wasn't live. I don't think it's supposed to be live. And I hope the audio isn't live. Because Phil keeps talking. Like when the action is actually happening, Phil should be shutting up. Or he should be narrating nicely, along with the camera, and Larry's camera should be pointed at it. But I'm pretty sure Larry puts the camera down, and that's bad. You gotta film the action. You gotta get this report right. The movie doesn't quite do that. But I think it's okay, because most of the people watching this won't notice that. They're just enjoying, okay, he did okay on that one, and then he's being a smartass. Because then, as the action happens with Handler, who is the actual groundhog handler on the film, pulling out the groundhog and holding it up next to Buster to listen to it. As this stuff happens, Phil describes. Then it's the same old shtick every year. The guy comes out with a big stick, raps on the door, they pull the little rat out, they talk to him, the rat talks back, and then they tell us what's going to happen. It's not an inaccurate description. I mean, it's not a rat, but I get it. I don't even think technically a groundhog is a rodent. Right? It's a marmot, which is not a rodent, if I remember right. But otherwise, no, that's an accurate description of what they're doing. They hit the thing on the stick, they're knocking on this fake stump. I wonder in Punxsutawney, I'd have to check. If the stump is real, they just cut a hole in it for a little door, or what they do. I always wondered as a kid, and I read in like the Charlie Brown Encyclopedia, I think it was, had a section on Groundhog Day. And their drawing was always just the groundhog poking up out of a hole. Like, did reporters or some scientists go just sit there and watch it pop up out of a hole and see if it sees a shadow? And no, as it turns out in Punxsutawney, it is more manipulative than that. Punxsutawney Phil, the rest of the year, lives in a climate-controlled enclosure in the public library, and then they bring him to this event. And in Woodstock, they bring Woodstock Willie to the event. Was he in a stump? I think he was also in a fake stump. But that fake stump was set up on the gazebo. So it wasn't even Gobbler's Knob, this little stage area, was built for the movie. And it does not exist anymore. They could almost put it back. They could have a stage in this space, but they don't want it because there's 2 gazebos. They don't need it. They've got a bandstand. They've got a place for events. And I don't know if you can get married in this town square, but they've got places for public events for sure. They do their Groundhog Festival from the gazebo. And people stand around. Anyway, that was minute 14. Phil does good report, says some shit that I hope isn't on mic. But if they're doing this right, should be on mic because they should still be filming. And they should be trying to get audio of the actual event. But I think the implication in the movie is that it's not. And when he comes back, it's a report and they're just going to use B-roll? Except Larry didn't get B-roll? Does this mean Larry isn't good at his job? I feel like Larry's good at his job. He's proud of his job for sure. He should be good at his job. I think this is more Harold Ramis isn't good at his job. Sorry, Harold. Or Danny, whoever wrote this part in the final script. Is you gotta keep the camera on Larry.
Coming in from editing because clearly I'm also bad at my job. No, you don't keep the camera on Larry. Larry keeps the camera on the action. Ugh. I shouldn't misspeak while complaining about others. Is that irony?
I know in the original, the whole thing with the groundhog is that it crawls off the stage and gets away from the handler, and Phil knows exactly where it's going to go, so he gets... Later in the film, when he tells Larry, maybe we should set up over here, get a better shot, they don't. We don't see where they set up for the better shot. We don't see them when he does the final report from Gobbler's Knob. They're still in the exact same spot as this.
Actually, as we'll find out when we get to that final report, they are in a different spot and shooting at a different angle. But I don't realize that until many episodes from now.
But the other spot, the reason he switches is because he knows the groundhog is going to run off the stage and go over there. And there is a image on the internet of Bill Murray crouched down with the mic, holding it over to the groundhog on the ground, which I think is a real image from behind the scenes, but for whatever reason, they just cut that moment out. Minute 14 is over. Next time we'll get a little more of the Groundhog event. Until then, watch more movies.
Knew you were gonna say that.
This has been a production of Lemming Drops Studio. You can find links to more at lemmingdrops.com or join the Facebook group Lemming Drops Studio Tour. Also, you can support all my shows at patreon.com/lemmingdrops.
What is wrong in the end which never comes? Or which comes again and again, lapping, like waves.
Since the Big Bang set everything in motion, everything that happens in this universe has to be the way it is. Particles unfolding the way they're destined to.
How do you sleep at night? You've never seen Groundhog Day?
Yeah, you know Groundhog Day is not a documentary.
Remember when Groundhog Day was just a movie?